I'd worked with a casting director called Sophie Holland on a movie. And then I'd done that, I think, in the summer of 2021, I'd filmed that. I came home, I was auditioning for stuff, getting really close and then not getting it. And I was just like, this is a long old slog, you know, it's just getting even harder now. And then the heavens opened up and Sophie emailed my agent and said, we've got an audition for Tilly for a part in You to play Lady Phoebe. And it was just like, oh.
You were a fan of You?
I was a massive fan. I have to say I wasn't. Penn knows this. Like, I was such a huge fan of the show. I just think the writing is so clever. And I love the dark comedy element. So, and I also really loved the part. The way I read, you know, the character description and the audition sides, I was just like, this is such a fun character. And it's going to be so interesting to see how she interacts with someone like Joe. And so I was just so excited. And I think originally, I don't know, Penn, if you know this, but I think maybe the part was meant to be a little bit older because that was the one thing going against me was that they would have maybe wanted someone a bit older, but Sophie really championed me.
Yeah, because it is interesting. Kate is older and they're like best friends.
Yeah.
But
I think you just don't really address.
You don't know the
Phoebe's
age.
Yeah. She's got like age-defying serums on and all stuff.
Exactly. It's all the filler and the Botox. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. If you notice, my face doesn't move.
Lady Phoebe is such a lovable character. I had said to Nava when we were watching it, I was like, you Tilly, are going to be like the darling in everybody's world because Lady Phoebe is such a lovable character and you play her so lovably, so well.
Thank you.
But I do have to know, what is Penn like on set? What's he really like? We want like the goss.
Good.
On my own show.
she's like, what can I say?
What can I say without not getting blocked by Penn? Okay. Penn's lovely. Do you remember when we first met, Penn? But do you remember when we first met? No.
Well, no.
And that's fine.
I don't. No.
Never tell a lie.
Was it at a table?
Yeah.
No. Okay, great. So we met at my makeup test. And I couldn't turn around to look at you because my hair had been like hairsprayed back into some kind of dew. And so it was a bit hard to turn my head to fully say hello.
Yeah.
And you weren't well. I remember that. You were a bit sick. You said you'd just been coming out on the other side of a cold or something.
I think that was right when I got there. And so there was just a lot of different things. Yeah.
So we met there and but you were lovely. This was the thing. You were lovely. And because, you know, I'm quite blah, 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 out there and chatty. And because you were ill, I was like, oh God, he's going to be really quiet and he's not going to want to talk to me. And then that totally wasn't the case at all. You were just so lovely. And we were in the first scene together on the first day of filming and he just made me feel really calm and really relaxed. Because it's nerve-wracking because I'm on a show that I've loved for so long with an actor that I think is so great. And I'm working with Lucas and Ed and Sean. So it was intimidating, but you gave me lots of encouragement on my first day. And then from then on, it was just really lovely. But also, I remember thinking, okay, I'm not going to drive this guy mad on the first day because we've got about 5 or 6 months left of this shoot. And I don't want him to think.
So you toned yourself down?
Yeah, I kind of had to bring it down.
I'm not sure you did. I think, no.
Not enough for men.
No.
Well, I was in underwear. That was my first costume, was underwear and a dressing
that's right.
gown.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, with the robe and all that stuff. It was in what is it called? It's a hotel. The Four Seasons. Yeah, it was like this hotel room, this giant suite. Yeah, I do recall that was the first day for everybody. We had the whole cast more or less on set, and but you really had the bulk of the work. It was like you, Lucas, and then me, of course. But what people can hardly ever really appreciate is that I do so little talking. So yes, I'm doing a lot, but I'm not speaking. So it's like, so you had all this talking to do, and you have the being of Lady Phoebe, which and now that I'm remembering, I think I said this to you, maybe on that day, maybe later, but there's always at least one, if not a few, roles in each season where the line between camp and high camp and low camp, whatever that is. It's like high camp is great. High camp is actually a much needed relief from the intensity of a show like ours. Low camp is where, you're falling on your face. And I think Lady Phoebe's a hard character to play. Like she's, this close to a caricature sometimes, and that's the function she has to serve. That's the function. Actually, a lot of the characters this season do need to serve because they're meant to be just so awful. We need to have awful people to make Joe the hero. But you did. I mean, I think what I could see in that first day and what I might have told you was just that you were doing it masterfully, I thought.
Oh, yeah, no, you were very nice. I remember the first thing you said was, "You're quite good." And I was like, well, I'll take it. I'll take it. But I and then you were very kind and you were saying I didn't find her that hard to play, but maybe because
you're just like her.
Just like her.
Wait, Tilly, I have to tell you that's a huge compliment from Penn. I think the nicest thing he's ever said to me and Sophie was, "This was nice." Mm-hmm. That's the biggest compliment we've ever gotten from him. So
that's
quite
really
good
terrible.
Means he thinks you're phenomenal.
Yeah.
But also it wasn't, you said it and I remember I laughed like, oh God. And then you were totally nice and you gave me loads of encouragement and, we had a good chat about it. And then afterwards, but it did, yeah.
I'm going to go home and cry.
Good. And I was like, oh no, what about very good?
Penn has told us that he doesn't memorize his lines for rehearsals, though, on set. Did you experience that? Like, he'll just, be messing around?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Doing all your silly voices and all your silly dances. But,
Well, no, to be clear, I usually don't have lines. That's or I do, and it's like, no.
Exactly that.
Or it's
because
sure.
Phoebe.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, sounds great.
That's right.
Sounds great, yeah.
But I think as well, because the dynamic between Phoebe and Joe is that she's just ranting and raving at him and whinging at him and he's just receiving it and in deep thought about it. That, you didn't have a lot of lines in scenes with...
No.
Like our scenes.
Well, particularly your scenes. Your scenes. You really were doing a lot of talking. And I just had a lot of listening.
Really were.
No, she didn't write it. It's just the way it was.
And also because I decided that she should talk really quickly, I would then have to trip over my lines all the time because I wanted her to have this pace and this energy. Mm-hmm. But because I was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I didn't have that energy. So poor Penn would then have to just take after take of standing there listening to this girl go blah, 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 blah.
I wanted to ask, what was he like as a director?
Penn was probably my favorite director.
Aww.
And I'm not just saying that, but I think he has because you're an actor. And so you have this kind of dialogue and this language that if you gave a note, I could completely understand what you were saying. I don't know whether you'd agree. Maybe I didn't. Maybe you thought I didn't. But
no, I think so.
Just a lot of patience. And I mean, I think your episode's so great. I think it looks great. I think the pacing and everything. But yeah, and it's nice to work with someone that you also have an established relationship with.
Yeah.
But I think that key of just the communication, because sometimes, directors, they're great, but the way they give notes is just, you have to kind of do some kind of mental arithmetic in your brain to let it work physically as well as mentally and all that stuff. And you just were very clear and concise and a lot of patience. And also it was really fun because episode 9 is, I can say right, it's the wedding.
Yeah.
And I was actually really nervous for those scenes because it's the peak of Phoebe's breakdown, but I'm really pleased that you were the one that got to direct me and all that, because you were just, I didn't feel like there was any pressure from you to, hit the mark straight away.
Right. Yeah. I think what people don't quite realize about television and directing is that, you have several directors throughout the season, and because they're coming and going, they're under a lot of pressure to keep the show on the track that it's on, and so they are actually under an intense amount of pressure. They basically want to make sure they're not failing to meet the standard, and then where they can add their stamp. I mean, it really is like it's a more utilitarian job than it is in film. You still have, it is still directing, but it does exist in a sort of a different tier in television. It's the showrunners are really the executive producers. They're the ones who run the show and call the major shots. So the directors can just be so under the gun with time, even that they, struggle to talk to the actors, which at the end of the day is what you have the least time for when all is said and done. I mean, especially if you recall with my episode, like at this point we were so behind schedule in the whole season that I mean, I remember, we would do sometimes 2 or 3 takes, and it would be expressed to me later that, like, I'm sort of pushing it, getting that much
day done.
Well, no, that I was like taking almost a little bit too much time with the actors, which I see from that perspective how that was true, but that's missing the point. That, like, guys, I'm actually taking the bare minimum here. I'm actually like we were not doing excessive takes in my memory or in my experience.
But also the fact that we didn't do too many takes didn't bother me, because I trusted that you weren't going to let me go on camera looking like an idiot. Because you want the whole episode to look great, and so it's not just you had the whole vision of it all, and you cared about us. So it was a nice dynamic to explore.
Tilly, another question about your character, about Lady Phoebe. As I said, I loved her and I wanted to protect her. And she has a lot of faith in Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, do you think that's because she's naive, or do you think she just sees the best in people? What's kind of your take?
I think it's a mix of both. I think it's that she sees the best in people, and that's her best quality. But also she's very naive, and I think it's actually something I've been thinking about a lot now the show's come out and we've been doing press about it, how important her upbringing is. And it's something that Sarah Gamble discussed with me quite a bit, is that she doesn't have a lot of guidance in her life, and she wasn't shown a way to be a loving, she didn't have a great example of what it was to be loved and to have care. And so I think, when Joe shows up, and even though he's not interested, but it's like a new person that she can just throw all this love on and, get some validation out of. And I think because he does show her kindness, it's this thing of then she wants to latch onto him. And I kind of compare it to like an older brother, little sister relationship, that he does protect her and he is there when she's in times of need. And she can rely on him, because apart from Kate, there's really no one else she can fully trust, because Adam's proven time and time again that he's just no good for her. But even though she doesn't want to believe it. Yeah. And she thinks Jonathan's older and wiser and has a beard, and that normally signifies that you have wisdom and life experience.
What do you think that Joe said to Phoebe? That thing, right? I feel like you had some funny
Penn, can
ideas.
you contextualize this question for listeners who might not know off the bat?
Well, come on, listeners. You come. Yeah. So, what is it in the first or 2 episodes? There's this night that sends really the whole season off, where Joe, as Professor Jonathan Moore, has a like an absinthe-fueled blackout night. And in this night, many very significant events happen that unroll for the duration of the season. One of the things is that he says something to Lady Phoebe that has endeared him to her. So she now trusts him implicitly, because he said something that just absolutely blew her away, seemed to change her perspective on things. And throughout the whole season, you're waiting to see if you're going to find out what he said. I really wanted to hear something. I wanted to like see the monster, that was one reveal the whole season that I wanted maybe more than anything else. And we never got it. What do you think he said? Do you have any quips?
I have a lot of theories. I think it could have been as trivial as...
She's blonde.
You're so pretty. You know, like when you meet a girl in the bathroom of a bar and you're really drunk and she's like, oh my God, I love your outfit. And you're like, babe, oh my God, that lipstick is the best color I've ever seen. And then you swap numbers and she's invited to your family's Christmas. You know, it's either something as trivial as that. I had a theory that it was something along the lines of, you know, that thing of, you seem like a great person. Why are you hanging out with all these people? And Charlotte actually had a really good theory about it. And now I wish she kind of told me it when we were filming, and then it could have changed the trajectory of my performance. She said that her thoughts were that Jonathan had said, does all this make you happy? Which I think then from the fallout of the series and where we find Phoebe, I think that is like the perfect thing that he could have said. I think it was more of a, he encouraged her to reflect upon where she's at. Unfortunately, she doesn't act on it till much later when all the death and destructions happened. But yeah, I think it was either something along the lines of, you seem like a great person. Why are you doing all this? Why are you performing for all these people? Does this make you feel happy? Or that dress looks amazing on you. Babes. Babes. All he said was, babe. And she went, babe. And that was it.
I like that.